days.
Yeah, my phone keeps lighting up like we get another one. I'm like, oh, there's another one. Before we leave today, we said we'd talk about this a little bit. Kind of a big week. We just had the anniversary of Andrew, by the way, too, I think, which people forget about Hurricane Andrew back in 1992. But this week's kind of a big week because it's 20 years since Hurricane Katrina struck the Gulf Coast. And I think what's interesting is today, I wanted to bring up a graphic, Tim, and hopefully you can see this. So James, punch this up so Tim can see this. This was the forecast cone at the 5 o'clock advisory 20 years ago today. And what I find interesting, and I forgot about this, I was here in Charlotte. I don't know where you were, Tim, but back on this date, the cone was pretty big, by the way. The cone was huge back then. It was not as accurate as now. It actually had the storm coming up into the Western Carolinas at this point.
The cone wasn't big enough, as it turned out, right?
No.
Like there was a shift. I didn't realize this, Brad. You know, believe it or not, one of the things I remember about Hurricane Katrina, it was like my first day of college and my first day of meteorology school, and we were kind of just watching what was happening in New Orleans. So maybe it made a landfall on a Monday or something, or a Monday or
morning.
Tuesday, one of those days. And so anyway, that is a big shift within a narrow time frame, right? There's only a couple of days to adjust and get people ready. So at that point, did you know you were going to even go to New Orleans and help out?
I did not yet. And to your point, so this was the 5 o'clock advisory. And what I'm going to do, I hope I can do this correctly, I'm going to go forward to the next 24 hours. So we'll go ahead to the 5 p.m. advisory the next night. That was the shift in the track. It had taken it all the way west to basically the Mississippi-Alabama line. There was like a huge shift in this track in 24 hours. And what I found fascinating, I went back and read the discussion from that previous track, and one model, it was the GFDM at the time, it actually mentioned it in the discussion that it was the furthest west track and had it go into New Orleans. But they put the track in the middle of the consensus because all the other guidance was too far east. So it was really interesting. There were hints even early on that it was going to go west, but this was a major shift, and you don't often see this in forecast cones, especially this close to the United States, Tim. So tomorrow at this time, this would have been the forecast for it to, and this is when people in New Orleans started getting a little worried, because not only did it shift west, that put it over warmer water for a longer period of time and meant intensification was a big issue. So we'll have more time to talk about this tomorrow and through the rest of the week, but the 20th anniversary of Katrina coming up on Friday, the 29th. We'll talk more about that, but stick around. We've got more Impact News coming up.
Hi, folks. Thanks so much for joining us here for Live Impact News on WCNC+. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together for the next couple of hours. Wanted to start off with a look at our headlines here. And first up, we do have just a heartbreaking update regarding a stabbing that happened a couple days ago on the Lynx Blue Line. And tonight we're hearing from family of this person who was stabbed and also killed on the Blue Line, loved ones, friends who spoke with us. And she is 23-year-old Irina Zarutska. She was stabbed to death Friday night while riding the train in South End. And she actually just recently, we're told, fled Ukraine. She was coming to Charlotte to the United States to seek a new beginning. So let's listen in here to our Jesse Piers reporting as she spoke with a family friend of Miss Zarutska.
She left Ukraine to make her life better.
23-year-old Irina Zarutska left her war-torn country and home of Ukraine behind to build a future here.
She moves into this area where life was better and ends up getting murdered, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
On Friday, Zarutska's future cut short. Police say she was found with stab wounds after an incident on the Blue Line near the East-West Boulevard stop. 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown is charged in connection to her death. Brown was hurt in the incident and taken to the hospital.
Right now, we don't know the exact sequence of events that led up to this incident, whether there was a dispute, an argument, some other kind of altercation that started before, and that's all part of the ongoing investigation, trying to determine how we got here.
Brown is no stranger to the justice system, with convictions for robbery and larceny in the last decade. As police work to determine what happened, friends are remembering Zarutska as a kind soul.
She was always very helpful, very supportive, and just had a heart of gold. She was a sweetheart, and it makes me sick to think that she's gone.
And more on this topic to come. Another big headline for us today, of course, back to school. We had a few more districts across our area head back today, including CMS. Sounds like overall generally a success when it comes to transportation. However, we did have some reports that there were a few issues that district leaders say that they're going to be confident that things will get worked out on that front. They say one of the biggest hurdles they had really trying to get enough bus drivers, which is a situation we've been talking about for several years at this point. Right now, though, CMS says that it has 98 driver vacancies. So they're just trying to make sure that they're using their staff adequately to make sure that every route is covered and there are no students that are left at bus stops for a very long time. We also had reports today on the first day of back to school for CMS that there was an arrest that had to be made after we're told two parents brought weapons to a CMS school. This happened during student arrival at Palisades High School. So district leaders addressed that, saying that they really feel like overall things are safe. They addressed the issue. They haven't seen any other challenges, if you will, from a safety perspective. And of course, we'll continue to follow you as we have more back to school action and updates to bring throughout the week. The other topic that we're keeping an eye on, we actually first brought to you as breaking news here on Live Impact News earlier today, and that is the incident that happened in Lake Wiley. So just so you know, we want to let you know we are in the process of trying to get more information from police because we're still trying to figure out exactly what the nature of this incident was. But we're finding out it was resolved peacefully in the afternoon on the area of Lake Wiley. So this is around 1 p.m. when this kind of resurfaced, kind of near the South Carolina state line, if you will. It was closed for a few hours on South New Hope Road. We saw multiple officers monitoring the lake. And then kind of around that 3:30 range, we heard from Belmont Police there was no longer a threat to the public. They reopened all the roadways, and they also confirmed that they were able to work with other agencies to resolve the incident. Once again, we still don't know the nature of that incident and why it had the roadway closed down for so long. But if we find out, we'll definitely let you know. Turning the page here, let's talk about some city activities here in Charlotte, because we've got city leaders once again discussing some of the big topics and, of course, discussing policy. One of the items that we've seen resurface a few times at this point recently has to do with vendors. So our Julie Kay's been keeping an eye on all of the discussions surrounding this. And tonight, Julie, you're working on a piece for us that will pertain to this push to try to change the vendor policies and or expand them to a different neighborhood. Is that right?
Yes. So tonight we have public forum at City Council, which can be a really long experience.
Yeah.
And so I always like to go and pick out and see, what are some of the topics that are coming up again and again. And what we keep seeing is these street vendors. But
Yeah.
I know that program, we've talked about a lot, has been expanded into NODA. So it's a pilot program that requires a registration for people that are selling things on the sidewalk, out in front of businesses. Prior to that, there was really no registration required. It also bumps up the fee for a violation from, I believe the cap was $50 prior to this. Now it's up to $500. So that's a big jump, more in line with other cities of this size, and that's why it was such a massive jump. But now businesses in South End are speaking out and asking City Council to expand that program faster. The goal was to, if this goes well, make this potentially even a citywide thing. But South End businesses are telling me they can't wait that long. They can't wait any longer than right now.
So are you getting the feel that this is a health concern? Is this a safety concern? Is this a financial concern maybe for, like, what are you hearing from all of the stakeholders, if you will, in this discussion?
All of the above. And I think that's a big piece of it too. I've done this story quite a few times out in NODA, and it sounds like South End, they're really worried about just the health regulations. There's not really a system set up to check that. Under the NODA vendor program, they work more closely with the county health department to get those checks. And so that's what they want here. Also, they're worried about safety things I wasn't thinking about in terms of, for example, some of these food trucks have like propane tanks. The things that they're cooking with, these are fire hazards. He said that last year, I spoke with the owner of Paiza. It's a pizza place on one of those main strips in South End. He said there was a fire outside their building last year. And so he's concerned about something like that happening again. But also, as you said, economic reasons. We have had multiple businesses in South End close over the last few months. They, at Paiza, have only been open for, I believe, less than 2 years now. And they said that this has become an increasingly bigger problem, that they're worried. The reason some of these businesses are closing is because they have competitors that are kind of taking over the street.
Very interesting. And I mean, I remember, it was probably a couple weeks ago that the health department even put out an alert telling folks to just be mindful of the fact that there could be some vendors out there operating without licenses or inspections that are required by the county. And they were even asking folks, I don't want to say even like a bounty, but just like report it, right?
Yeah, if you see something, say something. I know in particular that intersection, it's right next to Vinyl. The owner of Vinyl was there as well to support this mission. It gets very busy, and there's a really large pizza truck that sets up right there pretty much every weekend night. He says he called it the South End State Fair, with how busy it gets, especially after those bars close. And that's when he says they're kind of taking most of those customers, which he said competition is good. He's not opposed to street vendors. He just wants it to be safe and done in a way that everyone can, operate and keep going.
Yeah. Now, at this point, is this merely a discussion, or have we seen any city leaders basically saying, oh, I'm open to this, or is it not that far along at this point?
So interesting, because this was kind of the goal, was to expand this program. There was no timeline on how quickly that would be expanded, so I'm curious in the coming days if we get some more information on that. According to them, they have not gotten much response at all from city leaders. They've reached out to council people, they've reached out to other leaders. He says the only ones who have responded, the fire department once went on a walkthrough with them at night, because that's what they're offering, is saying, come with us, we will show you at 2 in the morning when this gets really crowded on a weekend what this looks like. But he says in order for there to be actual enforcement of that, it would need to come from city government, and that's why they're speaking at public forum tonight to hopefully kind of force some answers here.
Very interesting. Anything else you think might be of interest tonight? Because we see it in our preview here, our monitor that we're watching off to the side, the feed. They're going right now. They're speaking. We can see City Council talking right now.
Yeah, we've got the rest of public forum, a couple zoning hearings. I think what will be interesting now is we're under that new meeting format. And so at the end of every meeting, there's that up to an hour where you get to bring up whatever you want and hopefully get something put on the agenda in the future. So I'll be curious to see what comes of that, because I know Edwin Peacock has discussed wanting to bring up the stabbing from this weekend, demanding some answers on that front. So I think that this will be an interesting council meeting that maybe not on the agenda, but I think in that hour-long period afterwards, we'll get some some thoughts that I think are going to be on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thinking about what happened to that young woman, I mean, definitely curious to hear more about that situation and if the city has a response to that, maybe on a more formal standpoint, policy-wide.
Sounds like per Jeb that they're actually talking about that now. It sounds like, so maybe we should head back to the
All right,
the
yeah.
meeting.
So let's do it. Let's listen in, folks. Right now, that discussion is actually happening as we speak at the Charlotte City Council meeting.
Queen City Arts Festival. Thank you.
Ms. Brown.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Mayor. That is a good festival. It's not in my district, but I always go. And I like being up there on the water. So shout out to Tommy Nichols, who's doing a great job with that festival. And people come in from all over the city. I want to go back to our youth. One, this young man is still here. Let me see. It's Zach, correct? I just want to say thank you so much, Zach. I really connect with the youth. I'm forever young. I claim that. And but what you said, your knowledge of policy and what we can do or what we can try to do, a good example of making good trouble. And so I just want to say thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge you again for addressing us and bringing the Dillon Rule to the council for us to reimagine and rethink that. So thank you so much for that. I had that on here and I sent you your picture, so thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to me to hear that from you. And our young people are truly our future and our leaders. And so think about coming on down this way, okay? Really, truly. The $3 million that, Madam Mayor, the $3 million that we're being, using to get out the word for the transit, I'm just asking, that's a question that I'm asking that.
Of city
maybe-
money?
No, not city money, no. Is it MEC something?
Sorry.
Yes, Mac, the Alliance.
Oh, the MEC, the Alliance. is
Yes,
doing
I don't,
that.
not
Yes,
the
they
city,
have,
that's why
yeah.
I'm asking for clarification.
Right. It is from the,
Okay. Right, so some of my
Alliance.
constituents, as they're coming out to the polls and people are asking about how it's being used and where, I'm not sure if we know, but when money comes out, people don't know if it's differentiated through the city,
I know.
county, we all get
That's-
misconstrued,
you're
so I
right
just
about
want to try to
that.
get the clarification
Yeah, very
on
clearly.
it. But a lot of them have concerns, which my colleagues have already expressed, about transit riders, the workers, and just the violence that come with that. So we could kind of address that. I don't know how we would address that, but that's something that I would like to address. And then I wanted to go back to the city manager with, I've been advocating for the animal shelter to be over. So can you explain that, talk about that general services and what that looks like? Do you mind? Or you want?
No, that's
Okay.
sure. Thank you, Councilmember Brown. So one of the things we found out by moving animal care and control from CMPD to general services, it was very difficult going through CMPD's processes to even foster animals. So that was step one, trying to make sure that it's a lot easier for the general public to engage. The other thing that we're doing is, I think it's an investment of about $30 million to build out a new adoption center. I think that's the best way to describe it. As well as we continue to evolve, trying to find ways to make sure that the experience is a better experience for all of those who are involved. So we're spending time with Dr. Fisher, we're spending time
Yes,
with this-
Dr. Fisher is amazing,
Right.
yes.
Yes, with this transition to, provide for better opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much, that's a start.
Good.
They are really, that group, that tribe,
Yeah.
the people that support the animal shelter, they show up and they show out. So thank you for just hearing us, not just me, because other council members had that initiative as well, but that's something that they've been pounding on. So I think it's a great start
Great.
in the right direction. So I think Dr. Fisher and his team and the animal lovers of those four little creatures, they'll be happy about that. I want to go back to the gang violence. There's a couple of young people that I know that have died in the city recently. I'll be attending, I think, a funeral this week. And in addition to me attending the homegoing celebration and funeral services, the gang violence is very, very concerning. Not only is they've lost somebody, but then the retaliators are going back to the house and still initiating gun violence while the loved ones are trying to prepare for someone that they've lost. That was brought to my attention this week. It's not in my district, but it's in our city, so it affects all of us. And so anything that we can do, I know that we got the Katie Blessing Center coming, and I'm so excited about that. And how we can
They opened this week.
Yes. Is it open this week? I thought it was going to be next week. Is this week?
No, it just opened.
Okay, so just open. Okay, so that's awesome. That's good stuff. Was it open? I didn't even know. Did we do a ribbon cutting or anything?
I think
A long time ago we did.
Yeah, but they just had, I think, an opening today.
Real opening or soft opening?
I think it was a real one.
A real opening. Okay, all right, no problem. So that young lady, her mom was here, Shyla Nordon. I just want her to know that we do hear her loud and clear, and we are very concerned about the violence with our youth. But I think the more activities that we have for our youth, the more that we are engaged with them and involved with them and put people in front of them that can identify, according to data and metrics, some of the things that they've been through, we'll be able to address that. And of course, West Boulevard. You and I have been talking about West Boulevard for a long time. If we can do that drive down West Boulevard from one end to the other, because I can tell you about West Boulevard, what it used to be and what it is now, and how I'm concerned about all of my district, all of District 3, but West Boulevard has been, if we can reimagine West Boulevard looking like Patersford Road. And a bank on West Boulevard would just change the whole trajectory of what West Boulevard could be and what it could look like. We care about West Boulevard, the small businesses over there. So I would like to do that ride with you. I know we prolonged it, but after September the 9th, can we schedule the ride? Because I'm busy at the phones. I got some work to do. And last but not least, Tyler, the South End vendors, we do care. We hear you loud and clear. Some of those concerns cannot be addressed and fixed overnight. But when we get an email and we respond to it, doesn't mean that we don't care. We have 10 other amazing people that sit on this council, and we have to collaborate, because I have one vote even though it's in my district, and I'm trying to get people to understand that. I can lead the charge and lead a project, but I still have to get my colleagues on board to support it, because we still need 5 other votes with mine. District 3, I love y'all, but I still need 5 other votes. So that concern is something I know that they want the pallet to be launched, but we have to look at the specifications of NODA versus the specifications of South End and see how we can make those work together like a puzzle, and it don't always work that way.
Absolutely right.
Because of regulations and different things like that. So, Tyler, we hear you. South End, we hear you. We care about you just like we care about NODA. Just have a little bit of patience for us, and we'll work through it for you. That's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that everyone has had the opportunity, so I think there's opportunity for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second, then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, all of you. I think this is working better for us, so that people, I think especially to communicate with each other, we're learning a lot. Thank you all. For this, we will see you.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Discussion wrapping up for now at Charlotte City Council. We actually want to take you back earlier into the meeting because we obviously heard our Julie Kay talking about some of the public comments that were brought up, including on this vendor regulation discussion. So we wanted to kind of take you back and give you an idea of what some of those folks were saying. So once again, just keep in mind, this was the Charlotte City Council meeting from today, but really just a few moments ago. We're just rolling the tape back. So with that, let's go ahead and turn to that recording.
First time here in Charlotte. So we thank you all for inviting us tonight to be able to speak on behalf of the Miss Juneteenth pageant. Although the Miss Juneteenth pageant is over, Miss Juneteenth has passed, our mission as Miss Juneteenth queens and coordinators still goes on, right? So let me see here. These remarkable young ladies were chosen from a group of 14 girls ranging from the ages of 5 to 18. They have taken up on the movement to stepping into a year of leadership, service, and personal growth. It is more than a pageant. title, that is. Our queens are actively involved in community outreach efforts, making a lasting impact through education, empowerment, and volunteering. They are eager to contribute to any initiatives or events that the City of Charlotte will be hosting. This year, we proudly awarded scholarships to participants in our 13 to 18-year-old categories, reinforcing our commitment to education and empowerment. We invite the Charlotte City Council and the community to encourage, uplift, and recognize our Juneteenth queens as they continue their 2025 journey. Your support will affirm their efforts and inspire the next generation of confident, empowered leaders in our community. Looking ahead, we are excited to announce that we will be hosting our next Miss Juneteenth pageant here in Charlotte the first week of June 2026. Thank you. We welcome the community, collaborators, sponsorships, and engagement as we prepare for an even greater celebration of heritage, excellence, and youth empowerment. Let's continue the spirit of Juneteenth, investing in the future of our young girls. Now I present to you all. You want more?
Okay,
You present.
go ahead.
Okay.
We're going to.
Now I present to you all the first time our Miss Juneteenth queens. We have in my hands Miss Riley for our petite category. Just say hi.
Okay. All right, that's all right. Okay. And
We have not here today, Little Miss Trinity Steve. And we have our young Miss London Hillman. Hi. Our junior Miss Jordan.
hello.
And lastly, our Miss Juneteenth Queen, Nevaeh Higdon. She is currently away attending Shawan University to become not only the first official Juneteenth Queen to attend the college, but the first in her family history to attend a college. She is majoring in psychology. Their presence brings energy, purpose, and deep commitment to making a positive impact. And we thank you.
We thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much, and we are excited to hear what your next steps will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
All right. I want to make sure that while we have the Juneteenth pageant, we understand that the remaining of you will have 3 minutes to speak. So with that in case, let's go, 2 minutes to speak. And so let's begin with economic development with Jacqueline McGee. Ms. McGee. Thank you. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jacqueline McGee. I'm the owner of My Story Cafe. I opened the cafe in 2022 in the French Quarters. At least that's how we refer to it, as the French Quarters. Everything was absolutely beautiful.
You might want to get a little bit closer to the mic. Yes, so that we can hear you clearly.
Okay. I have an accent. But I noticed security or safety was going down, was declining a little bit in the French Quarters. And knowing me, I am always looking for the next best thing. The next best thing turned out to be on January 7th of this year, I got a contract with the Spectrum Center to open a cafe/coffee shop. Now that's history, because there's no such thing that exists in the country. There's no cafe in a sporting arena in the country, so this is history. We've created history here in North Carolina, really and truly. But let me hit, I'll come back to that, but I want to hit on affordability. As a small business owner, We cannot afford the rent that the bigger businesses can afford. As a matter of fact, they can afford the security. We can't afford security. I'm struggling to have the amount of employees that I need to have. So my ask is rent affordability. What do I have here? You know, the ability for us to be able to afford the rent, especially uptown. We are giving to the community. All I'm asking is that the community give back to small businesses. We are the backbone of any city, any county, any state. We are the backbone. I have to say this, that the French Quarters has lost its best kept secret by me having to leave there and go over to the Spectrum Center for safety for myself. I'm a single woman running a business in a place that's mostly drinking. I had a federal judge that would come to my...
Thank you very much. We can, if you would like to give us a written statement to the city clerk, that would be really good. And I think that we'll have talk with Allison to actually help work through the remainder of your requests. Thank you very much, Ms. McGee. Our next speaker is Peter Galphin. Peter Galphin. All right, our next speaker, Mr. Galphin is not in. Our next speaker is Mahendra Rathore.
Good evening, Your Excellency, Ms. Mayor, council members, and everybody here. I'm here to give voice to the voiceless this afternoon. I've been a resident of Charlotte for last several years, since 1999. And the point I want to really make here today before the August audience is really that we are expanding in terms of our population, in terms of our development, industry, residential development, but are we also giving voice to the voiceless, the abandoned, the forgotten, and the rescue animals of Charlotte? And you have done, madam, excellent job. You are really one of the foremost mayor of this country, and I'm here to appeal to you to do a little extra for the animals. So here are a couple of my suggestions for you. That we have to develop a systematic vision for the animals' welfare and care. And our city's current shelter is single, overburdened facility near the airport. It's doing a great job. We commend everyone there. But operating at a max capacity and leading a tragic outcome, the location itself is a significant barrier for the resident to drive all the way and care for the animals and also volunteer. So I'm here not asking for charity, but for your leadership to really consider making micro centers all across the city, maybe 4 centers in each direction, east, west, south, and north, so residents can get involved, children can get involved. On the weekends, people can go and contribute as volunteers and care for those animals. I also have a small suggestion that major parks of the city, we can host some sort of satellite mini shelters, making animal care visible, local, and accessible, where children can walk shelter dogs after school, senior can feed the rescued animal on the weekends, and corporation can also adopt the kennels, sponsor wellness drives, and fund adoption events for our pets. I'm also Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want you to know that your time speaking is really timely because we are talking about how to redo our shelters with the animals. And so I think, Liz, would you be helpful in getting some additional information and some of the ideas that you've talked about? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay. Our next speaker is Fred Money. I hope I said that correctly.
He's not here. Greg Money.
Fred Money. Is he here? All right. Our next speaker is Cortez Washington. Mr. Washington. Is Mr. Washington here? All right. Our next speaker is Christopher Scott. Christopher Scott. Our following speaker is Caretha Blunt. All right. Justin Perry. I think I saw Justin. Yes, there's Justin. Okay, now I know. Thank you very much, Justin, for coming. Come on down. You have 2 minutes.
I've been trying to trim down for 3 minutes.
Well, you can always come back another day.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you all as well. Good evening. 10 years ago, a group named One MEC took a multifaceted approach to address school resegregation, first getting CMS to reprioritize economic diversity and student assignment, while knowing we could not go back to the busing program that I had when I grew up here. We challenged not only CMS, but said we would need support in developing mixed-income housing and needing help from the city, the philanthropic faith communities, as well as the county. That's right, the county, who forever disengaged from housing, with some of us helping to flip long-held seats, decided to engage in housing. A subgroup of us met with commissioners and the county manager and encouraged them to take the land they own near Greer Heights and DSS toward Eastover and to develop affordable housing, including that in the 30% AMI range, instead of selling it to developers. They're now in partnership with DreamKey, developing mixed-income rental and ownership units, while having a county manager who was wanting to pursue affordable housing and address mobility even more assertively. We helped create and lead the Color of Law community read, encouraging houses of faith to step up in tackling our housing crisis while addressing other issues like source of income discrimination. One of our members, Tom Hanchett, has written a book, Affordable Housing in Charlotte, What One City's History Tells Us About America's Pressing Problem. Unlike others, it's a Charlotte-specific book chronicling the ebbs and flows of working to tackle housing in Charlotte with a focus on the role government can do and leaning into it. He's given the clerk a copy of for all of you to read, as well as a packet to go with that reading. We're partnering with the library, the foundation, Houses of Faith, and other members of the community to write the next chapter of our story. We're inviting you to read the book, take the packet, and partner with us in shifting the paradigm of this community while taking substantive steps to create and keep affordable housing in every district here in Charlotte. An event will take place early in 2026 at the Carolina Theater, as we are committed to moving from forums to focused action in housing not only the 157 new people moving here that we always hear about, but as well as the longtime members who've always been here and build this community into a world-class city we say we want to be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And for those with you, thank you very much. So our next speaker is Jacob Kreminski. I hope I got it close to correct.
It was close, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, you know, some days. If you give them to the clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and Charlotte residents. My name is Jacob Kreminski, and I'm here to share a solution to transform our 311 call line and make it smarter, more accessible, and more cost-effective for every resident here in Charlotte. A personal experience of mine inspired this idea, and I believe it can make Charlotte a leader in 311 innovation. I'm 24. I work for a bank here in Charlotte and their Treasury Department, and this is my first time presenting to the City Council. A few months ago, my girlfriend's car got towed, and it was a bit of a stressful situation because we weren't sure if it was stolen or towed. We called the 311 line. After a long hold, we had to call 911. In that situation, we had multiple calls back and forth, and the operator kindly helped us, although it did seem like she had dealt with this situation before. The police did have to come, and then we ended up finding the car 15 minutes down the road. I started utilizing some of my free time to build out an automation call line. My dad helped me, who has startup experience across the nation and is a computer scientist. In similar trials, we've seen response times get cut by 30%. when adopting strategies like this. It also is built for Charlotte's growth using a cloud-native infrastructure that can handle 10,000 concurrent users at one time. Right now, the prototype is built and it has a modular design that can be integrated into all of our city's databases. For example, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department's towing database. Together, I believe we could make Charlotte a model of 311 innovation, and I would love the opportunity to pilot this program in partnership with you in Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting.
Sean Heath is going to help you decide how we can do that. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Very smart young man.
All right. Douglas Sharif. Mr. Sharif.
Good job.
I think Sean's right up that way. Thank you, Betty.
Oh, man. You reckon that?
Well, that's a tough act to follow.
She's about to be ducking. She left. That's okay.
Good. Yeah, I'm here today.
Please.
Probably not for anything as complicated as needing to show up to the meeting. If you're driving out of Charlotte over the years, I've been here about 30 years, you've noticed that there's a lot more trash along the highways and things of that nature. One of the issues I have is this road spam signage that you see that gets peppered all over Charlotte. There's one company in particular, it's Lime, Lime, something Lime. If you're driving home tonight, just look around the city as you're driving. My thought is, I know there's a fining system in place, it's like $100 per fine. Maybe a tiered approach where I think they view it as basically a cheap marketing expense, where it's cheaper than a billboard. You can target the audience to where you want the signs to be, and they pay the fines and move on. And I've had
All right, folks, more updates to come from the City Council meeting. And don't forget to tune in at 11 o'clock on the news here on WCNC Plus as our Julie Kay explores that discussion further about the vendor regulations, potentially here expanding from NODA to South End, really, as she mentioned, still a push that's underway. And unknown where that will go. With that, we do want to turn to an update that we have here on a breaking news story we first brought you Friday out of Roseland, Louisiana. That's that explosion that happened at a supply plant in the afternoon. And throughout the last couple of days, we've been seeing this evacuation zone. Now it's getting whittled down, and state leaders are providing an update on the very latest with that zone and what we know about this explosion. So let's listen into this briefing from just a few hours ago today.
And the great thing about it, even better than that, there's been no deaths. I'm here to report to you all that EPA has taken over as the lead agency responding to the fire over at Smitty's Supply. EPA's top priorities are containing hazardous materials that may still be on site and recovering any unburned materials from the facility, nearby ditches, ponds, or anything that has gone into the Tangipahoa River. You know, it's important to recognize that this is not just simply an environmental issue, but this disaster affects the lives of all of the great people who worked at that facility and lived in that region. Certainly this is going to impact the town of Roseland. So I speak to them first, then to the parish, and then to the citizens of the state. It's important to recognize that Smitty's facility basically provided products that allow all of us to enjoy the quality of life that we have, not only in this country, but in this world. The products that were shipped out of that facility help to make all of the engines and machinery and things that we use on a daily basis work. That's how important that facility is. So facilities like that around this country are absolutely vital and important. It's also important to know that all of the agencies that stand behind me are here and working hand in hand to provide the public with both answers and to solutions as we work through this disaster. EPA has deployed an on-scene coordinator and a technical assistance team, which they call START, and they have been just unbelievable. I mean, to think that we've been able to have this fire extinguished in 72 hours speaks volumes for everyone who responded, not only the governmental agencies, but the private contractors as well. And EPA and DEQ's response has been from the beginning, making sure that air monitoring and the oversight of the extinguishment of that fire and containment began immediately. Since that time, they've deployed over 1,900 feet of containment boom in the river and 100 feet in the nearby drainage ditches. Nearly 150 people are engaged in field operations representing all levels of government, as I said, and those contractors. And we are going to be here, and I have a commitment from EPA that we are going to be here every step of the way until we get the site cleaned up and figure out a way to move forward. We also know, as I said earlier, that jobs have been displaced and livelihoods upended. I'm hoping that the kids can go back to school tomorrow. The parish president will talk about that as well. Maybe those children might not want to go to school tomorrow, but certainly we're hoping that we can open that school. And it's also amazing to think that starting on Friday, there were 850 people who had to be evacuated, and today there are only 7 homes that can't be accessed. So again, I cannot say how proud I am of that response. I got to tell you, the parish president here, Robert's going to speak in just a minute, but he has done an unbelievable job. I've been able to watch his press conferences, and I think that he and the sheriff and everyone here at the parish have just done an unbelievable job. I hope that you know that the nation was watching, and they can watch and say that they hope that their communities could respond to something like this as quickly and as effectively as y'all had. I also know that the public has a whole lot of questions that they may not have answers to. But guess what? We can't get you some of those answers because being able to answer the questions that you may have take time. When you take a water sample and you send it off to a lab, there is a certain amount of time that it takes to get an answer. We can't get our results like you get your news on TikTok. It doesn't work like that. It takes a while. So I ask the public to have some patience. It's also important to understand that we had an interesting sequence of events that happened. When that fire broke out, there was a big rainstorm. And so that rainstorm, because of that rainstorm basically coming over that plume of smoke, brought all the particulates that were in the air to the ground. That doesn't mean that what landed on the ground was utterly toxic. But that's what happened. In fact, if there wouldn't have been a rain event, you probably wouldn't have seen much. And so, again, we are going to make sure that we put out the most accurate information that the public has. But from what I can see, there really is no imminent danger to any life or property other than we have to clean up a big mess. If we find that something changes as of today, the first people we're going to contact are the press and the public and let them know that. So with that, I would like to bring up Tangible Parish President Robbie Miller, who I believe has done an outstanding job. Robbie.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. I think when you look at this response, and welcome, thank y'all for being here. When you see the folks, all of the agencies and all the people standing behind us, it represents the response that has been in play since approximately from 1 hour to 6 hours of this event beginning. And everyone's been on site. I'm confident that there isn't a better team or a better effort to have started fighting this fire. I think I know the information we were given a little while ago is that it was a 20-acre fire of petroleum products and various other things that Smitty's makes. As the governor said, the tremendous effort to get that under control and to protect the environment. We had the evacuation of 1 mile for safety purposes of explosions, and we didn't know what the fire was going to do as it went into the air. So, we were out of abundance of caution, we backed everybody up. So that was the reason for the evacuation. At the same time, the governor said it too, but I have to reiterate, the idea that we had an event like this had to only been divine intervention, that we don't even have an injury. And through the whole fight, we've had a firefight, and through the recovery so far, there hasn't been one injury. And of course, no deaths. And I don't know that an event like this could happen without that. It's just unbelievable how that could have happened. Tribute to training, preparation on Smitty's part and our fire department's part, and the contractors that came in place. So I want to make sure that we recognize how important that was. There's more that I can say, and I'll answer any questions in a minute, but we're going to turn it over so that you can talk to the experts about this. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the 400 jobs and the family, the Smith family, who started Smitty's almost roughly 60 years ago. And they built it from a one man in a van to roughly 450 employees, and basically international company. And those folks today are trying to figure out which way is up. One quick thing about that, through Louisiana Workforce, through Tangipahoa Parish Workforce, and Smitty's, today there was a office set up, the mobile unit from Louisiana Workforce in Hammond, for those individuals that work at Smitty's that are unsure where they are, could go there and start finding out what services are available to them. So a tremendous response on all levels. And with that, I thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Scott at EPA. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Mason. I'm EPA Region 6 Administrator over Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico, and for the South Central United States. Governor Jeff Landry, your leadership has been phenomenal through this. Really appreciate you and working hand in hand with the governor, with the governor's office. LDQ Secretary Courtney Burdette has been phenomenal. The secretary and I were on the phone within minutes of this explosion happening and us finding out about it in Dallas. And we talked all through the weekend, multiple times a day. There was never a pause in our communication. I also want to thank Parish President Robbie Miller, who has done a fantastic job in leading this from the parish side. And I know that we also have federal partners here from the ATF who will be speaking here in a moment. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our on-scene coordinator, Bray Fisher, who you will hear from here, who's one of the finest that there is in the response efforts. I'm here today because I want the citizens and residents of Louisiana and Tangipahoa Parish to know that they can count on the United States EPA to be responsive and to be in action when called upon. And we have been called upon, and we stand ready for that. You know, you can't fully understand something until you are physically seeing it. So it was very important for me to get down here as quickly as possible, which is why I'm with you all here today and have been here on the ground all day. On August, I also just want to mention too, it is absolutely what the governor and the parish president said. It is by the grace of God that there was no loss of life and no injuries. So I think we need to recognize that. This has been an unprecedented and coordinated response. From the minute the U.S. EPA found out about it, we deployed immediately on-scene coordinators and our START response team contractors. They were here within a matter of a couple of hours. And we have been on the scene, and as of yesterday, we took over as the primary response agency. On August 22nd, the EPA was notified by the Louisiana State Police of an explosion and fire at the Smitty Supply Inc. Facility in Roseland, Louisiana. While the cause of the explosion is currently unknown, multiple above-ground storage tanks as well as multiple drums and cylinders were involved in that fire. To keep nearby members of the public safe, An evacuation was ordered for anyone within a 1-mile radius of that facility. EPA staff arrived, as I mentioned, on scene the same day within a couple hours and began assisting in the Unified Command with other Louisiana state partners and our local agencies. They conducted community air monitoring and documented the facility's efforts to secure the release. EPA's Airborne Spectral Photometric Environmental Collection Technology, otherwise known as our Aspect aircraft, was also activated to perform wide-area air screening immediately to support the on-the-ground monitoring efforts that were taking place. The sampling results indicated that the air held no danger to human health, and it continues to hold no danger to human health. On August 24th, EPA began the transition, as I mentioned, to assume operations as the lead on-scene agency coordinating the response. EPA will contain any remaining on-site hazardous materials and recover unburned material from the facility in ditches, ponds, and the Tangipahoa River. The recovered materials will be transported and disposed of at an EPA-approved facility. Operations are continuing around the clock. With more staff heading to the response location, we'll continue to conduct air monitoring and work to complete all aspects of the cleanup. EPA is also aware of materials that have flown into open waterways, and we are actively performing containment operations to reduce and remove recoverable amounts of material. EPA makes these recoveries of materials via vacuum truck with the materials stored in a frac tank for safe disposal at an EPA-approved facility. We will continue to coordinate, I should say, with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, the Louisiana State Police, Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office, the National Weather Service, the Governor's Office, and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and the Tangipahoa Parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and members of the public in order to keep everyone informed and safe. And again, I cannot underscore the cooperation between state and federal in this response. It is something that the folks of Louisiana should be and can be proud of. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Bray Fisher now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bray Fisher. I'm the Federal On-Scene Coordinator. I'm with EPA for this response. And so I just wanted to touch on a couple key points of a little extra detail. So we are aware that everybody is really wanting those sample results. We have gotten some of the sample results back, and they are undergoing quality review. And the sample results we have gotten back, we are using those preliminary results to make informed decisions about our operations as we move forward. The fire currently is 98% contained, and we have taken the 1-mile evacuation zone, and it has now been shrunk into just the immediate area around the facility. We are currently today building a earthen berm around the facility, and that's going to help us with containment. So not only containment that is on site, but also if there's any rain events, keeping things on site so they don't migrate further off site. As we've also deployed containment boom in the spill pathway as well to make sure that things don't continue to migrate throughout the environment. So just a few numbers so far. Other than the firefighting, we also have started recovery where we can. So we're at around 100,000 gallons of recovered material and about 10,000 gallons of recovered foam at this time. So I will turn it over to Louisiana Department of Air Quality. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Courtney Burdette. I'm the Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. I'm here to report that DEQ has been actively monitoring the air quality since the inception of this event, along with EPA. We have deployed our mobile air monitoring laboratory, which we call our MAML. It's currently located on Highway 51, immediately adjacent to the site, about 0.2 of a mile away from the site of the incident. The MAML is currently providing real-time air monitoring data, which is available for public viewing on our LDEQ website. At this time, the air monitoring data from our monitors is showing results that are below actionable levels, and we will continue to monitor air quality in the impacted area. DEQ has also directed CTEH, which is the Center for Toxicology and Environmental Health, to collect representative samples of soot deposits in the impacted area. The results of the samples will be shared as they become available. DEQ is committed to working with the Unified Command to ensure that we disseminate information to the public as quickly as we can. The health and safety.
All right, folks, you've been seeing in the bottom right corner of your screen for the last several minutes a live look at the SpaceX feed. That launch is actually set to go off in probably a little less than 3 minutes at this point. So we wanted to take you to this feed so we can listen in and hear. Keep in mind, this is a second attempt. There was supposed to be a launch yesterday, but it was scrubbed due to ground systems issue. Let's listen in as the announcers are counting us down.
Flight director for today is going through some of the final checks. We are still red on the range for weather. We are closing out prop load right now, though.
Yeah, as we wait and hear what's going on, we can just quickly review some of the test objectives for today. On the booster side, we're of course hoping for all 33 of those Raptor engines to power our ascent ahead of hot staging. And once that stage separation occurs, booster will perform that directional flip before the boost back burn. One of the interesting experiments we're doing today is upon our landing burn, which typically ends with those 3 center engines lit. We're going to be intentionally shutting one of those off and instead lighting one from the middle 10 ring. And this is just to kind of give us an idea of what it would look like if we ever had an engine out scenario.
Yeah, using our time to really push the envelope. And so at this point, we are fully closed out on our prop load. Coming up on 1 minute and 20, we are still red on the range for weather. So at this rate, looking likely we will hold at T-minus 40 to see if we can clear that anvil cloud rule. That's the one blocker we currently have to a launch today. All right, and we did just get confirmation, so we are expecting to hold at T-minus 40. We are still red on the range for weather, so look for the clock to pause in just a couple seconds. And pause. So we'll hang out here for a couple of minutes. We do have until the end of the window. We won't have 30 minutes of hold time to hang out, as we can't. We're essentially not replenishing prop on the vehicle at this point, so we have to keep a close eye on things like temperatures inside the tanks. We can only hold for so many minutes before things start to warm up. Surprised it's hot in South Texas.
Yeah, while we're holding here at T-minus 40 seconds, we reviewed our test objectives for booster, but why don't we chat ship for a second? After stage separation, ship will continue onwards up through its ascent to the planned suborbital trajectory. Once it reaches there, we'll undergo SECO, or where the second stage shuts off its engines. We're hoping to deploy 8 dummy satellites today, which are modeled after Starlink V3. We're also planning to attempt a in-orbit burn, so we'll relight one of those Raptor engines while in space, and that will occur ahead of re-entry, where we'll also be testing multiple experiments, including missing tiles, metallic tiles, and intentionally loading those vehicles' flaps. And then hopefully we'll conclude today's test flight with a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, definitely want to see a ship on the other side of the planet today. We did just get a quick update. So the range is fully green. Weather is still red. So we are still tracking a detached anvil rule, which essentially there's an anvil cloud that's too close to our launch site, and it needs to move further away. Until it moves further away, we can't lift off. So we are expecting an update in a couple of seconds, potentially. Again, we can hang out here for several minutes. We're not actively replenishing prop. And getting an update now. And we're getting a weather update right now. And team's looking at it. Again, we're just tracking this anvil rule still. It's our only blocker today. Range is green, vehicle is green. Weather is currently red. All right, and sad voice coming in. We did just hear that we are still going to be red. So at this point, we are essentially transitioning this to be a wet dress. So wet dress is when we fully load prop on board the rocket. So we are going to see the clock probably start up again, but once they get down to 10 seconds, they're going to abort out, and then we will be done for the day. So sad news, not going to launch today. Weather got in our way, but you can only control so much. Can't always control the weather. Can't control the weather. I wish we could control the weather. We're not there yet.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? So we are seeing the clock rolling, but again, we're going to get down to T-minus 10 seconds, and we're going to see that kick back out, and then we're going to start offloading all of the propellant that's on board the rocket today. So if you are just tuning in, yeah, it's not going. There it goes. Back to T-minus 40. So again, we essentially turned today into a wet dress, so today still ended up being a test.
Still learning something as always.
Yeah, still learning something. We were able to fix the issue that kind of bit us yesterday, where we had a leaky hose that was feeding liquid oxygen into the ship, but we were able to fix it.
All right, so it looks like there's some issues with the intended SpaceX Starship launch. Was supposed to go off today. Really, at this very moment was the intended launch time, but sounds like that's going to be put off because of concerns with weather. So we'll wait to see where we stand as far as when the launch might go again. We wanted to touch base here with a big topic that we've been seeing with back to school, particularly for college campuses lately. Unfortunately, what seems to be a slew of swatting hoaxes that are hitting universities, at least 4 now that we've seen. Villanova, there was University of Tennessee. You also have University of South Carolina. And then, while we're not sure exactly what is behind this, there was an active shooter report at University of Arkansas today, which we covered here for you live on Live Impact News this afternoon. But we heard last check as of several hours ago from Fayetteville police there in Arkansas, no evidence of any sort of shots fired or an active shooter. So potentially another call that might prove false at this point. We want to check in with USC. We've got our news partners over there reporting from campus, giving us the very latest on how this is impacting folks there. Let's listen into Kiki Geshu.
I'm at the University of South Carolina outside the Thomas Cooper Library, where a sudden lockdown Sunday sent students scrambling for safety. USC police now telling us the incident was part of a swatting hoax, but students say their feelings were very real. Police say 2 calls came in claiming there was a gunman inside the Thomas Cooper Library, both with background noise designed to sound like gunfire. Officers cleared the building and confirmed there was no threat.
I get like nothing actually really happened in terms of like there were no fatalities, but I think the feelings were still very much there, and I think like that is still very like, I don't want to say traumatic, but very like emotionally like scarring, I guess, in a way, in and of itself, even if nothing really did like come from it, I guess.
Students were locked down, many barricading doors for around 2 hours. USC police say 2 students were hurt while evacuating the library. Both have been released from the hospital. The USC Police Department tells us they're working with state investigators to figure out who made those calls. They stress that even though this turned out to be a hoax, they will continue to respond to every threat as if it's real. In Columbia, Kiki Gashu, News 19, WLTX.
All right, and of course we'll kind of reiterate, we're still waiting for maybe the final word or final report from University of Arkansas regarding that active shooter report from today. We can tell you though that the latest from police, once again, no evidence of any shots fired, and the lockdown has since been lifted. It sounds like they had classes canceled for the rest of the evening, and they have classes set to resume tomorrow. We've got some wild images coming into the Live Impact News studio right now, so we want to take you there to the Arizona area where we've got live images of a dust storm. Essentially, this is called a haboob, and we know that there's a dust storm warning in place for Maricopa County as well as Pinal County in south central Arizona and southeastern Arizona. Specifically, though, we're seeing this coming to us from the area south of Phoenix, so this is in Pinal County. just south of the Phoenix Metro. And check that out, large dust storm there. These are the reports we have from National Weather Service. Looks like there is a dust storm warning in place until just before 6 o'clock local time, so local time there in Phoenix. They've got a wall of dust that has been reported extending from near Freeman to Oldberg to near Magma, moving northwest at 30 miles per hour. Near zero visibility. As you kind of saw from that shot, you can understand why visibility would drop substantially down to zero, essentially where you've got the storm actually moving through. Winds upwards of 50 miles per hour. This information coming from trained weather spotters, by the way. Impacts, sounds like it is dangerous, life-threatening travel through this stretch. So that's going to be impacting multiple highways as far as advisories. Arizona Interstate 10, Interstate 17, and State Route 50 between specific mile markers. But in general, the locations impacted will include Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, Avondale, Goodyear, Apache Junction, Tolleson, Laveen, Cashin, East Mesa, Gold Canyon, Sun Lakes, and Maricopa. We know that these dust storms are, I don't want to say pretty common, but they are established in this part of the nation, and we know that the winds can get pretty strong as well as they kind of carry across those lands. So we'll keep an eye on this. Once again, live images of a dust storm called a Haboob spotted south of Phoenix. We know a dust storm warning underway for 2 counties, Maricopa and Pinal County in Arizona, for a little while longer, with some concerns over travel in the area and visibility. Pretty wild to see. All right, with that, we want to turn to some big news from the Department of Justice today regarding specifically the Sinaloa cartel and what seems to be a big development in a guilty plea for one of the co-founders of that cartel. Let's listen into this earlier announcement from today. We've got not just law enforcement leaders, but we've also got Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking on this development.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joseph Nocella, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. Thank you all for being here. I would like to begin by introducing the Honorable Pamela J. Bondi, Attorney General for the United States of America.
Thanks, Joseph. Thank you to our great U.S. Attorney here. We also have our DEA Administrator, Terry Cole, our HSI Acting Executive Associate Director, Derek Gordon, FBI Operations Director, who I'm with every day, Chad Yarborough, U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of Florida, Jason Quinones, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons, and Acting Assistant AG Matt Gagliotti, who I'm with almost every day as well. We're here to announce a landmark victory for the Department of Justice, our law enforcement partners, and the United States of America. As you've heard, drug kingpin Ishmael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, has confessed to a lifetime of crime in service to the Sinaloa cartel, a foreign terrorist organization. Thanks to the relentless work of our prosecutors and our federal agents, El Mayo will spend the rest of his life behind bars. He will die in a U.S. federal prison where he belongs. His guilty plea brings us one step closer to achieving our goal of elimination of the drug cartels and the transnational criminal organizations throughout this world that are flooding our country with drugs, human traffickers, and homicides. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is on the front lines of this fight. We're standing shoulder to shoulder with all of our law enforcement partners to dismantle these narco-terrorists, and that's exactly what they are. They are narco-terrorists. El Mayo was one of the most prolific and powerful drug traffickers in this world. His partner was El Chapo. They were co-founders of the Sinaloa cartel. They brutally murdered multiple people and flooded our country with drugs. Their reign of terror is over.
He will never walk free again. Over the last 3 decades, El Mayo and his accomplices made billions of dollars, hundreds of millions each year they were making, by bringing poisonous drugs into our country. No longer. The Sinaloa cartel initially built their businesses with cocaine, but then under El Mayo's leadership, they turned to heroin, they turned to fentanyl. They purchased fentanyl precursor chemicals from China. They made the drug in Mexico and flooded it into our communities, killing our kids. El Mayo also ensured that the Sinaloa cartel operated and protected its drug trafficking business by relying on extreme violence. They used military-grade weapons and directed hitmen to kill their adversaries. They committed gruesome assassinations, kidnappings, and horrible crimes to maintain discipline within their own organization. He ordered the murders of countless individuals and rivals. Many innocent people died as a result of this as well. El Mayo operated with impunity at the highest levels of the Mexican drug trafficking world by paying bribes to government officials, by bribing law enforcement officers. He controlled corrupt officials and officers who protected his workers and his drug shipments that traveled from Mexico into our country. El Mayo's crimes have been so prolific that in the past 2 decades, he's been indicted in no fewer than 16 federal courts across our country. 16. From Western District of Texas to Chicago to here in the Eastern District of New York. He escaped justice for decades. But under President Trump's leadership, he has finally been brought to justice. Today's conviction is the latest success in the United States fight against deadly cartels and transnational criminal organizations. We've made remarkable progress. Just to give you a few examples, under President Trump's direction, the United States State Department designated the Sinaloa cartel, together with 5 other cartels and MS-13 and TDA, as foreign terrorist organizations due to the serious threat that they pose to our national security. As a result, the DOJ has already charged leaders of the Sinaloa cartel with narco-terrorism and charged alleged members with support and supporters of TDA, MS-13, and CJNG, currently one of the most violent cartels in Mexico. They provided material support to a terrorist organization. We are calling these drug kingpins what they are: international narco-terrorists that invade our country, threaten the sovereignty of our borders, and destroy our communities. They are terrorists, and we will prosecute them like they are terrorists. Since President Trump took office, Mexican authorities have expelled more than 50 high-ranking cartel leaders and other dangerous criminals to our country to face prosecution. More than 50. These are historic numbers that ensure that these criminals will face justice and face justice on American soil. We now have leaders from CJNG, Sinaloa, and Los Zetas in custody. Our prosecutors in the criminal division and the Northern District of Illinois obtained a guilty plea from Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, and another leader of the Sinaloa cartel, the co-founder. Just a few weeks ago, on August 14th, we announced criminal charges against 5 cartel leaders. We will not rest until Americans are safe from these narco-terrorists. Thanks to our law enforcement officers, both both here and in Mexico, who often put their lives on the line every single day to protect us and to get these violent leaders off the streets. We are not done yet. At President Trump's direction, we will continue to fight until every single cartel boss is behind bars and on American soil and in American prisons for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. As you've heard a short time ago, Ismael Zambada Garcia, known as El Mayo, pled guilty here in the Eastern District of New York to being the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, the largest drug trafficking organization in the world. Among other things, he admitted to leading a continuing criminal enterprise and to RICO conspiracy charges. This is an historic day. With today's plea, the Sinaloa cartel has been decapitated. Its two founders and leaders, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, also known as El Chapo, and now El Mayo, both stand convicted. These defendants built a criminal empire in Sinaloa, Mexico. Their cartel grew like it was a cancer throughout the hemisphere. They flooded the United States with deadly drugs, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and then fentanyl. El Mayo was first indicted in the Eastern District of New York in 2009, and we continued to add charges, including, as the Attorney General mentioned, fentanyl trafficking, right up until this very year. As a result of his conviction, El Mayo faces a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. This conviction is also a testament to the unrelenting determination of the prosecutors and the law enforcement agents who would never stop seeking to bring El Mayo to justice. As our Attorney General has pointed out, the plea marks the conclusion of a decades-long effort by hardworking and dedicated public servants across the United States. I want to thank the prosecution team from the Eastern District of New York, Assistant United States Attorneys Francisco Navarro, Robert Pollack, Adam Amir, Lauren Bowman, and Rebecca Ercolay. In addition to the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida and the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Texas, both of whom are here with us today, I also want to acknowledge the important contributions of the U.S. Attorney's Offices for the Northern District of Illinois, the Southern District of California, and the Central District of California. I would also like to thank our American law enforcement partners at the FBI, Homeland Security, and the DEA, along with numerous other law enforcement agents throughout the government. I would also like to thank our counterparts in the Mexican government. Finally, I gratefully acknowledge the presence here today of Frank Tarantino from the DEA, Ricky Patel from Homeland Security, and Philip Bates from the FBI. I'm now going to ask Acting Assistant Attorney General Matthew Gagliotti to say a few words.
Thank you, United States Attorney Nocella. Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Gagliotti, and I'm the Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division and a former Assistant United States Attorney here in the Eastern District of New York. Today marks another milestone in the Department of Justice's relentless efforts towards the total elimination of cartels. One of the most notorious narco-terrorists of all time, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, was convicted in a United States courtroom, having confessed to more than 3 decades of crime in service to the ruthless Sinaloa cartel. For decades, the Sinaloa cartel, under El Mayo's leadership, made billions of dollars by importing dangerous drugs to the United States, intensifying the drug epidemic in our communities by flooding our streets with cocaine, heroin, and ultimately fentanyl. Today, El Mayo admitted to crimes of a staggering scope, including leading a sprawling criminal enterprise that distributed more than 1.5 million kilograms of cocaine in addition to other drugs. He made corrupt payments to operate with impunity, and he protected Sinaloa's operations by ordering acts of extreme, heinous violence, leaving a trail of human suffering, including innocent victims, in his wake. Pursuant to his guilty plea, El Mayo will spend the rest of his life in prison and owes $15 billion in forfeiture to the United States. Results like this are not possible without the prosecutors and agents who have done an extraordinary job building the case piece by piece and seeing it through to completion. This is another significant result under Attorney General Bondi's leadership in the department's unparalleled drive to eliminate cartels. As part of that effort, we have seen more than 50 high-ranking cartel members expelled to face justice in American courtrooms, collectively one of the greatest takedowns in United States law enforcement history. Other leaders have been charged as foreign terrorist organization leaders, and members have been charged as well. We continue to pursue these individuals to make them see justice in a United States courtroom. As Acting Assistant Attorney General, I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners, and I'll briefly flag in particular trial attorneys Jace Bourne and Kirk Handrich, as well as all of the U.S. Attorney and law enforcement partners with us. The Attorney General has made clear that the department's goal is eradicating the harms caused by cartels in American communities. And the department is quickly making historic progress towards achieving just that. Thank you. It's my honor to introduce DEA Administrator Terry Cole.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Attorney General, thank you for your law enforcement support. Thank you for the care and attention.
Folks, we'll get back to this if we are able to, but we do want to turn to some breaking news here, just into the Live Impact News studio. This is regarding that kind of ongoing scrutiny over a Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. It sounds like the president is saying that he is removing her from her post effective immediately. He just posted this information to Truth Social, his online social media platform. There's a whole letter that he posted explaining that decision, but essentially he cites his authority, he says, under Article 2 of the Constitution and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. He says that you, quote, as he's directing this statement towards Lisa Cook, you are hereby removed from your position on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve effective immediately. He cites this criminal referral from the Federal Housing Authority director from the 15th. I wanted to say last week, but it's actually 2 weeks ago almost at this point. It's about a week and a half, but he basically accuses her of mortgage fraud. Still waiting to hear any sort of comment from the Federal Reserve itself, but we have not, and of course Cook, we're waiting to hear if she has a response, because she has responded to the initial allegations of mortgage fraud. Last week she released a statement saying that she had no intention of, in her words, being bullied to step down from her position because of some questions raised in a tweet. And so she went on to say, I do intend to take any questions about my financial history seriously as a member of the Federal Reserve. She's gathering accurate information, she says, to answer any legitimate questions and provide the facts. But this, as we see here tonight, this breaking development, the next step in that back and forth, as the president is saying that he is now removing her forcibly from her position as Federal Reserve Governor. Of note, she is the first black woman to serve on the board of the Fed, of course, the nation's central bank. We'll have more of this as we get more developments and more updates to share on this front. With that, we're going to get back to this briefing here that was in progress from earlier today, but this is that announcement regarding the Sinaloa cartel and a co-founder who has pleaded guilty now to multiple offenses, which authorities here say will essentially keep him in prison for the rest of his life. Let's listen in.
One of those men was El Mayo. However, today, as you've heard, he stood in a U.S. courtroom. He said those words that change everything. Guilty. This is just not another plea. It's a collapse of a myth that leaders of cartels are beyond the reach of American justice. Today, we prove once again no one is beyond our reach. I've seen firsthand the families who've lost sons, daughters, brothers, sisters to fentanyl, pushed by Sinaloa and Elmayo. When he admits guilt, it's not just words on a page. It is an acknowledgement of those lives stolen by his empire. This case was built brick by brick across continents. It began in 2020 at a targeting meeting that I attended here in New York. From there, the New York Field Division, the men and women standing to my right from all federal agencies, pursued relentlessly every single member of the Sinaloa cartel, along with our agents in Bogota, along with agents in Madrid, and our partners at HSI and the FBI, and our partners at EDNY and the other federal agencies, prosecutors that we've mentioned. Our agents just did not build a case. They carried the memories of U.S. citizens. Juan Carlos Garcia, who was murdered by the Sinaloa cartel in 2015. Every interview, every wiretap, every sleepless night was for justice. It was for justice for those families who have lost their kids to the Sinaloa cartel. Our global partnerships develop the ultimate blow. We did this by leaning on our powers of partnerships in New York, to Bogota, to Madrid, to Washington. We tore down walls between prosecutors, investigators, and analysts. We didn't care who got credit. The only thing we wanted was the truth. It's the same model we used when we took down Garcia Luna, when we took down Chapo, and as we continue to dismantle RCQ. It's a model of dismantlement of the cartels today. Dismantling cartels, we just didn't go after the drugs. We went after the decision makers, the financiers, the killers who directed violence with a single phone call. This is how we dismantle cartels at the highest level. Global cooperation. DEA is not just an American agency. It's the world's most trusted partner to fight against cartels and synthetic drugs. This case proves what happens when we work together as one. The illicit finance. These complex historical conspiracies are where DEA thrives, following the money, listening to cooperators, and turning intelligence into courtroom-packed truths. Every plea is more than a headline. It's one less pipeline of poison into our neighborhoods. It is one more life saved from a fentanyl overdose. I've stood in too many homes where parents and their children keep memories of those that are lost. Today's guilty plea doesn't bring those kids back, but it sends a message to the cartels, to the world, and to families who still grieve. DEA will not stop. We will hunt the heads of these organizations. We will tear apart their networks, and we will bring them to justice, one member at a time, by the men and women over to my right, the finest career law enforcement investigators in the world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Administrator Cole, thank you for the remarks. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Derek Gordon. I'm the Acting Executive Associate Director for Homeland Security Investigations. Today marks an historic day in pursuit of justice for the countless victims Zimbardo's regime of terror created. For over 30 years, he yielded unchecked power at the highest levels of the Mexican drug cartels in the trafficking world, leaving a legacy of corruption, violence, and devastation behind. Indicted 16 times over 2 decades, he continued a criminal enterprise that shamefully peddled death. Together with El Chapo, he transformed the Sinaloa cartel into one of the largest, most violent drug trafficking organizations in the world. Under his control, the cartel became synonymous with public corruption, the generation of billions of dollars from trafficking fentanyl, the unimaginable bloodshed, acts of outright terrorism that devastated communities and countless lives. Today, he stands defenseless because the relentless investigative efforts of HSI, FBI, DEA, and the Department of Justice. His guilty plea is not just a milestone in Americans' fight against the Sinaloa cartel. It's a victory for the victims whose lives were shattered by his ruthless regime. But we are far from finished. HSI special agents working alongside our law enforcement counterparts have dedicated decades to investigating foreign terrorist organizations for the sake of uncovering, disrupting, and ultimately dismantling them until they are completely wiped off the face of the earth by any means necessary. With today's victory, our fight continues with renewed fervency. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Chad Yarborough from the FBI.
Thank you, Derek. Well, good afternoon. My name is Chad Yarborough. I'm the operations director for the FBI, and I oversee our cartel efforts. Today's landmark guilty plea of Ismael El Mayo Zambada marks a significant step forward in our ongoing fight against transnational organized crime and the deadly narcotics trade that threatens communities across this country. The guilty plea is not only a win for our communities, but a testament to the FBI's commitment to crush violent crime, to target cartels and gang activity under Attorney General Bondi. I want to take a few minutes to highlight our partners' extensive efforts throughout this investigation. And I can't do that without mentioning our law enforcement partners at DEA and HSI and DOJ, who are working tirelessly together to disrupt and dismantle these violent criminal networks. This case is the result of that close collaboration and years of deliberate efforts by our partners and the FBI, both here and in Mexico. For decades, the Sinaloa cartel has been one of the primary drivers of illegal narcotics flowing into the United States. When this investigation began, our Washington, D.C. field office was able to identify with our partners the cartel's 2 main leaders, Zambada and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. After Guzman's arrest in 2016, Zambada continued to lead the Mayo faction of the Sinaloa cartel, which was responsible for trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, which killed thousands and thousands of our citizens in the United States. And in 2024, the FBI and our partners here were able to arrest Zambada, which has led to this guilty plea today. Let me be clear. The guilty plea is not the end of this fight. The Sinaloa cartel may think that they're powerful and mighty, but rest assured, we are all up here because we have one goal in mind, and that is the destruction of the Sinaloa cartel. Now, I want the communities to know, not even the most senior leaders of this cartel and others can escape accountability. Let this be a message to all violent criminals and members of the cartels that the FBI, DEA, HSI, and DOJ will leverage everything we have, all of our resources and all of our expertise to bring these individuals to justice and safeguard our communities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Attorney General. Thank you for your leadership and your support. I'm Jason Redding-Quinones, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. For more than 3 decades, Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia commanded one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. Under his direction, the Sinaloa cartel used vast resources to bribe officials, intimidate rivals, torture their enemies, and murder witnesses, all to push poison in our community that ends today. With his guilty plea, Ed Mile now faces a mandatory life sentence in federal prison. He will never again lead a cartel that fueled addiction, spread violence, and tore apart families on both sides of our border. Let me be clear to anyone who thinks they will take his place. We will find you. We will extradite you. We will prosecute you, and we will bring you to justice. I stand here shoulder to shoulder with our law enforcement partners, and I'm humbled by their extraordinary work. For years, agents and prosecutors quietly built this case, piece by piece, fact by fact, not for glory, but for justice. For justice for the thousands of victims left in the wake of El Mayo's reign of terror. Because of their courage, we are here today. I commend each of them. I especially recognize my Assistant United States Attorneys, Andrea Goldberg and Monique Botero, for their relentless pursuit of justice. It's now my honor to introduce the U.S. Attorney
folks, once again, we'll
for
get
the
back
Western
to this
District
as
of
we're able
Texas,
to, but
Justin
we've got
Simmons.
another breaking update to share with you here on Live Impact News. Earlier here on our evening stream, we talked about first day of school back for CMS, and there were two parents who are accused of bringing weapons to a school today, and this happened during student arrival at Palisades High School in Still Creek. We're just getting some court documents shedding more light on the situation, including the names of the folks who were accused of bringing these weapons. We have here, according to court documents, Mikel Williams, who was arrested for bringing a knife to Palisades High School. He's being charged with weapon on educational property, not a gun. That's kind of like the designation of that charge. Looks like he was booked into the Mecklenburg County Jail this morning. We also have some information indicating that there's another person, 38-year-old Regina Mungan, who is arrested for bringing weapons to the high school as well. She's accused of having a handgun and a box cutter. She has since been released from jail, according to court records, after signing a written promise to appear in court. So that's the very latest we have. Identification and a few more details on these two parents who reportedly brought weapons to school on the first day of school for CMS. This happened at Palisades High School in Steel Creek. More, of course, to come here as we get the information on the news at 11 here on WCNC+. Let's get back to this briefing with law enforcement discussing the Sinaloa cartel.
Ismael Zambada Garcia, in partnership with El Chapo Guzman, led the Sinaloa cartel for decades. Brought millions of kilos of drugs into the United States. In so doing, they also imprisoned millions of Americans within the gray walls of addiction. Millions of their own countrymen within the gray walls of violence and fear. Now, he will spend the rest of his life behind walls of stone and steel. The Western District of Texas was especially affected by the activities of the Sinaloa cartel. You see, Juarez and El Paso are connected. Thousands of people every day cross through the various points of entries that connect the two cities and the two countries. Thousands used to cross illegally every day between the two countries. That's not happening so much anymore. Juarez affects El Paso. And so in 2008, when the Sinaloa cartel started fighting with the Juarez cartel to take control of that area, 10,000 people were killed on the Mexican side. U.S. citizens, at least one U.S. citizen, was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. And stray gunfire being fired in Juarez came across to El Paso. So those things that were going on, that were the product of the Sinaloa cartel's desire to take over that area, directly affected people of the Western District and in El Paso in particular. So in April 2012, AUSAs in El Paso brought charges against El Mayo, Chapo, and 22 other members of the Sinaloa cartel. I want to take a moment to personally thank AUSA Tony Franco and AUSA Kyle Myers for their work on this case. One of those charges that he pled guilty to today was part of that indictment, part of that 2012 indictment. So this really has come full circle for us in the Western District of Texas as well. But really today's not about the Western District of Texas. It's not about the Eastern District of New York, the Southern District of Florida, or any other district. It's about The government of the people, by the people, and for the people, delivering on a promise to eradicate Mexican drug cartels. That's what we're doing. And we're doing that so Americans can live freely, enjoy liberty, and pursue happiness. This is part of us delivering on that promise. And with that, I'll bring up Mr. Nocella once again.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming. That concludes our press announcement. There will be no further proceedings, and there are no questions, but I ask that everybody please remain in your seats as our speakers exit the room. Thank you.
Nothing on the cartels or the work that the DEA did. We have questions about that. We'd like to talk about.
Thank you.
We can take you all have stayed here all afternoon. Would be glad to take a couple questions. Sure. Wait, let me get him in the back of the room first. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. So on that point, I know as you wrap up these cartels,
I'll take like 4 questions.
You're focused on, as well as presumably cash and assets that comes up with that. Here in New York City, the DEA for years has uncovered people buying luxury goods, shipping them to China, and then the money comes back to Mexico. Where do those efforts stand today as far as following the money and really kind of grabbing more of the people that facilitate?
Yeah, if you couldn't hear, you asked about following the money. Following the money is always part of any of these criminal cases. That's how we're able to track and find them. I mean, this guy El Mayo was living like a king, and now he's living like a criminal for the rest of his life. He was living in a palace, and now he's going to be in a prison. So following the money is how we solve these cases. Terry, do you want to add a couple words to that with DEA?
Absolutely. So thank you, Madam Attorney General. There is a large cash seizure associated with this forfeiture that we will get out here shortly. But more importantly, our work with the Mexican government is not done. Similar to what we did with RCQ that we brought to the United States, there are proceedings happening as we speak.
Hey, hang on. We'll just take a few questions. Sir, sitting right there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said the U.S. government should collaborate with Mexico to understand how the U.S. authorities bring El Mayo Zambada, because for them it's not clear yet. What's your answer on that request?
Well, first we want to thank the Mexican authorities for all of their help in bringing all of these cartel leaders to justice. We're not going to comment on any of the specifics of any investigation, but we have brought, under Donald Trump's direction, we have brought more cartel leaders to justice than any other administration in this nation's history. Any other questions? Go ahead, Alana.
Why take the death penalty off the table?
So, Mexico, I've done this my entire career as a prosecutor. When dealing with Mexico, we cannot seek the death penalty. We've always known that, and that's an agreement that we've had with Mexico when we get them to our country. That includes many others. This guy's 78 years old, but he will live like he's on death row, I can tell you that. He will live in a prison cell the rest of his life. Yes, sir. One more.
Use the air bridge to come cocaine and drug to the United States. What about Honduras?
Yeah. He asked about the air bridge. Air bridge is a term that is common in law enforcement for how drug traffickers move their drugs from multiple countries, Venezuela, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, to our country. It's called an air bridge. And they pay off government officials, they pay people off, they pay off law enforcement officers in their countries to ignore that and to let them fly undetected. We're looking at all that. We're looking at that in multiple countries. Thank you all for being here, and thank you. Great question. Thank you.
And there you have it, the conclusion of that press briefing regarding the co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel pleading guilty to multiple charges, facing life in prison in the United States. Turning now to a live look at the, I guess you'd say twilight hours at this point, or getting close to it in Chicago. Beautiful look at the skyline. We know Chicago's been back in the headlines lately as there have been discussions on behalf of U.S. President Donald Trump, of course, talking about crime and his intention or thoughts of potentially federalizing the police force there, as he's done in Washington, D.C. already. And we saw that not only leaders there in Chicago, but also the state overall weighing in, asking the president that he not do that, saying that it's unnecessary and, in their words, unwanted, but really just a larger dialogue underway over not only the president pointing out various Democrat-run cities where he says there are crime issues, but also really just drawing to focus his moves to essentially kind of take over local authority control in some of these cities potentially. Let's go ahead, speaking of the president, turn now to a discussion and a sit down that he had with another world leader today. This was a sit down with the South Korean president. Of course, a trade discussed. Security was discussed as well. And there's also a $150 package, billion-dollar package rather, that South Korea is putting up for the construction of new U.S. shipyards and training of shipbuilding personnel. The president did, in this meeting, when he took questions from reporters, address the federalization of police in D.C., as well as the very latest in the dialogue over ending the war in Gaza. Let's listen in.
생각합니다. 그리고 그 전에 아주 선거에 이긴 것을 다시 한번 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
네, 대통령님 감사드립니다. 이렇게 시간을 내주셔서 우리 대한민국 국민을 대표해서 감사 말씀을 드리면서 우리 대통령께서 이 오벌 오피스를 새로 꾸미고 있다는데 정말로 밝고 황금색으로 빛나는 게 정말 보기 좋습니다. 품격이 아주 있어 보이고 미국의 새로운 번영을 상징하는 것 같습니다.
Mr. President, let me begin by thanking you on behalf of the Korean people. I would like to thank you for giving your time for today's meeting. And I heard that you recently redecorated the Oval Office, and I would just like to say that it looks very bright and beautiful, and it has the dignity of America, and it symbolizes the new future and prosperity of America.
미국을 다시 위대하게 만드는 것이 우리 대통령님의 꿈인데 미국이 다시 위대하게 변하고 있는 것 같고 그게 다우존스 지수에서도 그게 나타나는 것 같습니다. 제가 보니까 사상 최고치를 경신하고 있던데 오늘은 잠깐 조정되고 있지만 아주 훌륭하게 미국이 다시 위대해지고 있는 것 같습니다.
I believe that making America great again is your goal, and I believe that that is what is currently taking place in America. And I think the most symbolic thing of that is the Dow Jones Index, which reached a record high recently, although it went down a bit, but it reached a record high. And so I think that America is becoming great again.
말씀하신 조선 분야뿐만이 아니라 제조업 분야에서 르네상스가 이루어지고 있고 그 과정에서 대한민국도 함께하게 되길 기대합니다.
So I believe that there is a renaissance taking place not only in the shipbuilding sector but also in the manufacturing industry, and I hope that Korea can be a part of that renaissance.
그리고 또 한 가지 제가 꼭 말씀드려야 될 것이 대통령님의 평화를 지키는 기간의 미국의 역할을 넘어서서 새롭게 평화를 만들어가는 피스메이커로서의 역할이 정말로 눈에 띄는 것 같습니다.
And one thing that I wanted to say to you is that America's role not as a keeper of peace, but a maker of peace, is being more is emerging more evidently.
유럽, 아시아, 아프리카, 중동 뭐 여러 곳에서의 전쟁들이 이제는 트럼프 대통령님의 역할로 휴전하고 평화가 찾아오고 있습니다.
Many wars in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, and in the Middle East are coming to peace because of the role that you are playing.
세계 지도자 중에 전 세계의 이런 평화 문제에 대통령님처럼 이렇게 관심 가지고 실제로 성과를 낸 경우는 처음으로 보이집니다.
So among the many world leaders, I believe that you are the only leader who has made such accomplishments.
그리고 가급적이면 전 세계에서 유일하게 분단 국가로 남아 있는 한반도에도 평화를 좀 만들어 주셔서 김정은과도 만나시고 북한에 트럼프 월드도 하나 지어서 거기서 저도 골프도 칠 수 있게 해주시고 그래서 전 세계가 인정하는 정말 세계사적인 평화의 메이커로서의 역할을 꼭 해주시기를 기대합니다.
And I would like to mention that the only remaining divided nation in the world is the Korean Peninsula. And I would like to ask for your role in establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula. So I look forward to your meeting with Chairman Kim Jong-un and construction of a Trump Tower in North Korea and playing golf at that place.
아마 기다리고 있을 것 같습니다. 기다리고 있을 것 같습니다.
So I believe he will be waiting for you.
그리고 마지막으로 든든한 한미 동맹을 기반으로 대한민국이 성장 발전해 왔고 앞으로도 이 한미 동맹을 군사 분야뿐만이 아니라 경제 분야 또 다른 과학 기술 분야까지 다 확장해서 미래형으로 발전시켰으면 좋겠습니다.
Korea was able to attain economic growth and development through our ironclad alliance. And going forward, I hope to develop our alliance into a future-oriented alliance that encompasses areas not only limited to security, but also the economy and science and technology.
대한민국 국민들은 트럼프 대통령님에 대해서 정말로 큰 기대를 가지고 있다는 말씀을 드리면서 다시 한번 이런 시간 내주셔서 감사드립니다.
The Korean people have great expectations for you, Mr. President. Thank you once again for your time.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. I will say that Kim Jong-un and I had a very good relationship, as you remember, and still do. And when I came in, I didn't know him. We had 2 summits, but we became very friendly. Respect. It was great respect. And it was not going to be that way had Hillary Clinton won the election. It would have been a disaster. But we think we can do something in that regard with respect to North and South, and I think you are much more prone to doing that than other leaders that I've been working with from South Korea. And we'll work on that. I think it's very good to work on that. If you remember, you were doing the Olympics, and there was a great time of hostility with North Korea, and you weren't selling tickets because nobody wanted to be blown up in the stadium during the opening ceremonies, right? And you were not selling tickets. And I was also at my formative stage with North Korea and Kim Jong-un, and we were a little bit going at it about Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man, everything back and forth, and it was really nasty. And then I got a call one day, and they wanted to get together, they wanted to talk, and we started talking. And then he said really brilliantly, he said, you know, the Olympics is going to be opening very soon, and we'd like to be a part of it. They actually put teams in it. You got along great. And by the way, immediately upon that phone call, you started selling tickets, and it turned out to be a tremendous success. So it went from being empty stadiums because people were afraid to go, because it was a target potentially, to a great success. And I was very proud of that. You had one of the most successful Olympics, and now we have the Olympics coming to the U.S., so we're very happy about that. But that was a great honor to get involved and make the Olympics so successful.
네, 대단히 감사합니다. 다시 한번 모시게 돼서 영광이라고 말씀드리겠습니다. 제가 김정은 위원장과 굉장히 좋은 관계를 가지고 있습니다. 그리고 현재도 매우 좋은 관계가 있습니다. 내가 처음에 취임하고 난 다음에 2번의 정상회담을 김정은 위원장과 함께했고 상당히 친해졌고 또 더 중요한 것은 둘 다 존경심을 서로에게 가지고 있다는 것입니다. 만일 힐러리 클린턴이 대통령으로 당선했다면 절대 그러한 상황까지 이르지 않았을 것입니다. 제가 보기에는 이재명 대통령께서 한국의 어느 지도자보다도 북한에 좀 더 문제를 해결하고자 하는 의지가 있는 그러한 대통령이라고 생각합니다. 그래서 어쩌면 우리가 함께 노력한다면 어느 정도 진전이 있을 수도 있겠습니다. 사실 그 한국에서 올림픽이 열렸을 때 북한 때문에 많은 사람들이 올림픽 표를 사지 않는 그런 현상이 생겨났었습니다. 그런데 김정은 위원장이 그때 사실은 김정은 위원장과 초기에는 제가 별로 사이가 좋았던 것은 아닙니다. 서로 락켓맨이라고 부르면서 주고받는 그러한 그 해프닝도 있었습니다. 그런데 어느 날 통화를 시작하게 되었고 통화를 하면서 그가 얘기를 했습니다. 한국에서 올림픽이 곧 열리는데 우리 북한도 참가하겠다. 그렇게 얘기를 했습니다. 그리고 그 통화 직후에 올림픽표가 많이 팔리기 시작했습니다. 그리고 한국의 올림픽은 올림픽 역사상 가장 성공적인 올림픽으로 지금 기록되고 있습니다. 또 우리 미국도 곧 올림픽을 주최할 예정입니다. 그래서 우리도 미국에서 성공적인 그런 올림픽을 주최할 계획을 가지고 있습니다.
김정은 위원장 말씀을 하셔서 그런데 사실 대통령님 덕분에 이 북한하고 이 한반도 관계가 매우 안정적이었습니다. 그런데 사실 그 이후 대통령께서 미국 정치에서 잠깐 물러서 있는 그 사이에 사실은 북한의 미사일도 많이 개발됐고 핵폭탄도 많이 늘어났고 진척된 것도 없이 한반도 상황은 정말로 많이 나빠졌죠.
Mr. President, you mentioned about Chairman Kim, and thanks to your efforts when you were in office during your first term, the situation on the Korean Peninsula was stable. But during the hiatus where you were out of office, North Korea developed further its nuclear and missile capabilities, and that led to a deterioration on the situation of the Korean Peninsula.
And they wouldn't have done that. They would not have done that if I were president. That
내가
was not going to
만약에
happen.
대통령이 당선되었다면 그런 일이 일어나지 않았을 것입니다.
전적으로 공감합니다.
I completely agree with you.
그래서 지금 얼마 전에 김여정이 미국과 저를 비난하는 발언을 할 때도 대통령과 김정은 위원장의 특별한 관계에 대해서는 의심하지 않는다 이런 표현을 했습니다. 기다리고 있다는 뜻으로 보여졌습니다.
So when Kim Yo-jong, the deputy director of the Workers' Party of Korea, issued a statement denouncing South Korea, she mentioned about the not bad relationship between you and Chairman Kim Jong-un, and I believe that this is a sign that North Korea is waiting.
한반도의 평화의 새 길을 꼭 열어주시기 바랍니다.
So I hope that you will usher in a new era of peace on the Korean Peninsula.
I will do that, and we'll have talks. He'd like to meet with me. He didn't want to meet with Biden because he had no respect for Biden, but we look forward to meeting with him, and we'll make relations better. You'll help that. You had a lot of leaders. I've gone through a lot of leaders in South Korea. You know, it's been quick. You'll be there for a long time. But we, in the various leaders that I've dealt with, they were not approaching it properly, in my opinion, having to do with North Korea. But I think your approach is a much better one.
네, 그렇게 하도록 하겠습니다.
All right, folks, we're about to wrap it up here on Live Impact News, at least for this evening. Don't forget, as we turn you over to our next hour of programming, that we do have our 11 o'clock news coming up in just a couple of hours. So we urge you to stick here on WCNC Plus throughout the evening and join us, please, at 11.